All right, so Governor Glenn Youngkin is gearing up for his presidential bid, and he's actually doing a pretty good job on the PR. And he did a CNN town hall with Jake Tapper last night, and we have a lot of clips, but I picked this one because he gets asked specifically about CRT being taught to young children in schools. Governor Glenn Youngkin is the governor of the state I live in. I live in Virginia, and this pertains to me. And everybody else too, but
exactly ask you about that, which is kind of following up on what Brock was asking, because your executive order that ended the teaching of CRT said that it would end the teaching of inherently divisive
Yes.
concepts, including CRT. So other than CRT, can you give us a
just a note, and again, I encourage each and every single person to go and research for yourself. Go and learn for yourself. Anything that I say here, I want you to expound on yourself. I'm not just telling you the end-all, say-all and saying, well, that's all you need to know. CRT, number one, is not a divisive concept. It's basically analyzing history and how so many different factors have contributed to what we have in this country, systemic racism against black people. So it's not divisive. It might be divisive to hardcore Republican conservative people that are racist. I'm just saying, because there's nothing... CRT by itself, what it actually is, there's nothing divisive about it. I just wanted to make that point before we continue.
specific example of what is an inherently divisive concept that you think should not be taught in Virginia schools?
Yeah, the inherently divisive concepts are taken directly from the Civil Rights Act. And they're teaching children that they're inherently biased or racist because of their race or their sex or their religion.
Because, again, there's no such thing as systemic racism. He actually admits, I don't know if it's in this clip, but he admits at some point during this town hall that racism is a thing that exists. So, you know, you gotta give the Republican the W where he deserves it. He at least admitted that racism is a thing that's real. But you know, systemic racism, that's not real. The gender wage gap, that's also not real. These are things that exist. These are factors that would play a part in, you know, maybe someone who is a woman or someone who is a black person, you know, being discriminated against. Glenn Youngkin's trying to make the point that, you know, they're teaching that some are better than others and some are not as good as others because of skin color and sex. That's just not true. It seems like these Republicans are uncomfortable with facts and our terrible, awful history in this country of things that, you know, just shouldn't have ever happened. It really seems like it makes them uncomfortable because there's no reason for them to say that this stuff is divisive or bad. There's nothing divisive about teaching history. Unless you're going to teach history that's not right, then it is divisive.
They teach that a child is guilty for sins of the past.
They don't. They don't teach that. They really don't teach that to children. They do not teach children that. They do not teach the white child, because he's not going to say these things, because Glenn Youngkin is actually really well-spoken. I can also give him that. He's not going to just come out and say, like, they teach white kids that they're better, or they're not as... They teach white kids that they should be ashamed of their skin color. This is something conservatives love to say, that they teach the white children that that their skin color is harmful or bad or wrong, or it's harmful to another black child. It's weird shit like that. They say that it's the classroom and policies and teachings that are divisive. No, you guys are being divisive by saying shit that's not true. It's not hard to understand, but it's hard to listen to these people talk sometimes.
Because of their race or their religion or their sex. They teach that a child is
And I wonder what religious group, I wonder what religious sect is teaching that, you know, other religions, or because of your religion, you're not as good as someone else. I wonder what group of people that is. I wonder who that is. I wonder.
oppressed or a victim because of their race their religion, or their sex. And of course, we've seen this in curriculum. You see, critical race theory isn't a class that's taught.
In all fairness, critical race theory is a class that's taught. Critical race theory is a class that's taught to law students in college. So Glenn Youngkin's not right. He's not going to say that because, again, that would make his narrative fall apart. Critical race theory, I have said this so many times in my video. I'm getting tired of talking about it. Critical race theory is it's not just a class, but critical race theory is a bunch of different things. There is classes you can take specifically on CRT. Again, these are classes that the vast majority of Americans will not take if they go to college for 4 or more years, because this is extremely high level course shit. It's mostly for law students, and it's examining how, again, policy, laws, all of these different things, so many, again, contributing factors have culminated in creating systemic racism against black people. I can't go into all the details of CRT in this video. It would be way too fucking long, but that's what it is. It is a class you can take, and it's not being taught to young children. It's just not. It's not being taught to middle schoolers. It's not being taught to high schoolers. It's not. I've lived in this state my whole fucking life. Why do we never hear kids talking about CRT? We never hear children, we never hear young teens, we never hear teenagers talking that they're getting taught CRT in schools. We don't see them talking about it on social media, but we hear these politicians talk about it. This isn't happening. I graduated high school. I even went and did a small amount of college. There's no CRT anywhere. This is the biggest bullshit narrative I've ever heard. The CRT thing that's being taught in schools. It's not. It's not. Unless your fucking little child is in college, in which case, good for you. Smart motherfucker.
It's a philosophy that's incorporated in the curriculum. And we saw it in Fairfax County with privilege bingo and games like this.
And then they like to cherry pick. It's like Tim Pool pulling out this book that they say they found on some library shelf, and it's this thing where it's like, oh, well, you're white and that kid's black, and well, you're the oppressor and the black kid's the oppressed. It's like, did you even find that on a library shelf? You're nitpicking you one tiny thing, and you think that it's happening everywhere. Like, I don't know.
But we also saw it in teacher training and professional development.
No.
In recommended books entitled Critical Race Theory. And so this is why it was so important for us to clearly...
And again, I am willing to bet that the majority of young children, at least children that are young teenager or younger, if they pick up a book about critical race theory, they will more than likely not understand the contents in the book, and they're going to put that shit down, and they're going to go pick something up that they actually want to fucking read, okay? It's tough, guys.
Define what was not going to be taught in schools and what was, because this is a chance to make sure that we're not pitting our children against one another.
That's not happening. That's not happening. You're saying it's happening, and in turn, you're making it happen. You're getting up there and saying that white kids, that they teach that white kids are the oppressor and black kids are the oppressed. They don't teach that, but then you say it on TV, national TV. You're lying. He's just lying. He's making this shit up.
Based on race or religion or their sex, but teaching all history, the good and the bad.
So let me just ask you one more follow-up on that, which is, what do you say?
Again, guys, we know how much young people love social media. How come they never talk about learning this? If that's really what was going on in schools, the teacher just being like, okay, we're going to separate the oppressors from the oppressed. So if you're white, get in the oppressor group. If you're black or any other color, get in the oppressed group. Like, if that was happening, we would be hearing about that. I guarantee. You want to know why? Because when teachers do go on racist or sexist or whatever kind of crazy fucking rants or behaviors they do have, that shit goes viral on social media every time. And so if shit like this was happening, we would see it, but we don't see it because it's not happening. And Youngkin is not the only person to say shit like that. He is not. He's not the first one. He's certainly not going to be the last one.
To a teacher who wants to teach, any one of any number of scholars who say that the condition of black Americans today can be traced all the way back to Fort Monroe.
That was a kind of broad, generalized definition of what you might learn about if you took a course on CRT. It was worded very greatly good on Jake Tapper.
In 1619. That it's not as if every generation is just brought forth new, that there were hundreds of years of slavery, 100 years of Jim Crow.
And again, these are all of the contributing factors that I keep talking to you guys about. All of these things that go into what critical race theory actually is. Unless critical race theory is just teaching about American history, and that's what Republicans want to deem critical race theory, because apparently everybody nowadays, especially Republicans, just want to apply their own definitions to whatever word they're using to fit their own narrative in that context, then yeah, critical race theory is being taught in schools because you learn about stuff like Jim Crow laws in schools. You learn about slavery in schools. So if that counts as CRT, then yeah, CRT does get taught in schools. But again, if we're going to just apply our own subjective definitions to whatever words we want, then I could just say whatever I wanted, and anybody could just say whatever they wanted, and there would never be any consequences, and there wouldn't be laws against like hate speech and shit. And it's just, when you really listen to what these Republicans say, it's either wrong, just straight up blatantly false. It's either just straight up blatantly false, or it's just nothing. It's nothing. And I feel like Youngkin is kind of giving us a bit of both here. His responses are very generic. They're very general PR. They're very, I don't want to misstep. I don't want to say something that might get me in trouble, because Youngkin's he got in trouble for that shit he said about Pelosi last year. So he's kind of moved away from that, but he doesn't want to put himself in hot water again.
And today
he's trying to run for president.
Part of that.
Yeah, well, I first of all, we must step back and teach all of that. And then we have to recognize where we are today.
That's where the clip ends. There are, again, much of it was posted to social media. And again, it wasn't in this clip, but he does go on in another clip and say that, racism does exist and it's real, which is, not really saying a whole lot. The Republican Party is, you guys know how the Republican Party is, but, I guess give credit where credit's due. Just kidding. Saying that racism exists is, I guess, an achievement for the Republican Party, in my opinion. I don't know. But that's going to be it for this video, guys. If you like the video, please hit the like button. It helps me out so much. If you want to see more content like this, hit the subscribe button and press that little bell and turn on all notifications so you guys never miss an upload.